All right, good afternoon, class. This is Dr. Hosni Amira. Sorry for this weird camera angle. I will be doing the resting hand splint with you this coming weekend. And part of the resting hand splint is to do the pattern that goes with the splint. So to get this two-dimensional pattern from a three-dimensional hand, you need to do a little bit of creativity. And if you've done splinting in the past, you would, it's an easy process. If you haven't done it, this book is really good. This is the Cobard and Lohman book, and I believe this is the 4th edition, 2015, if I'm right. We will be doing the splint that is outlined in chapter 9, which is eventually, this is the splint we will be doing in the class. And we need to do this pattern before. Now, to do the splint, there are steps that are outlined in the book. If you have access to the book, that's great. On page 210, there are 1 through 9 steps. They're really lengthy. If you're an experienced therapist, you're not gonna go through them, but it will be probably a good idea to read through those if you have access to the book. Steps 10 through 14 is the actual making of the splint. Now, I'll walk you through this, and I will tell you what the expectations are for the class. So you need to come to the class with a pattern that is already made off of your hand. It's not going to be a piece of paper. It will be the size of your hand. Obviously, this is just for demo purposes. So my hand is going to be much bigger, the pattern that I'm going to do. But this is the final product. It's going to look like this. And again, it's outlined in that book chapter. So bring this with you to the class, not the actual paper, but whatever we're going to do here in a minute. To do this, you need a pencil. Don't use mechanical pencil. You need a marker or two or a pen. So I have used this paper towel. You could use a paper towel, you could use regular paper, but the paper towel is really good because it's flexible. So we are going to do step by step, and again, we're trying to get a three-dimensional human hand into a two-dimensional pattern to make the splint. Now, why do we do this? We do this on a piece of paper or a paper towel because it will be much easier to fold this and make adjustments rather than doing it on the actual, the hand using splinting material. You know, basically you have some room for error when you do it on a paper pattern. All right, so as a start, place the subject hand. In this case, do it on your own hand and make sure it's your hand, your own hand. So do not do a spouse's hand or a partner or a child. It needs to be the hand. All right, so get you a piece of tape and cover this dotted line here so it will not tear on you as you're handling the paper. Place the hand flat on the piece of paper, and again, it has to be the hand that will be splinted in the class. Don't draw a partner's hand or a child hand or whatever. So face down, bring your thumb out, space your fingers slightly. Don't overdo it. No extreme abduction, just slight space between the fingers. With your pencil perpendicular, you outline the outside of the hand. And again, the pencil has to be perpendicular. If you go at an angle, it's going to be really small. If you go at an angle like this, it's going to be too big. So make sure you're all the way perpendicular. Do it on both sides. And you can do all the way to the elbow. That's what the book says. But about 2/3 the distance between the wrist and the elbow, draw you a line. This would be the 2/3 length of the splint. You remember it has to be 2/3. Once you outline the entire hand, get you a different color, and then you need to identify the following marks. The IP of the thumb, different color would be fine. You don't have to, but that's fine. You need to do the CMC of the thumb. You need to do the MCP of the second finger. You need to do the middle of the middle finger. You need to do next to the metacarpal of the fifth, and you need to do the web space, the first web space, which is this one, and the second web space, which is this one. So just put dots basically. Again, the IB of the thumb, the first web space, the second metacarpal, the second web space. Draw a line about half an inch from this distance, about half an inch from the lateral edge of the hand, and then about half an inch past the middle, the distal end of the middle finger. Again, I'm sorry, this is a weird camera here angle, and my hand is squished here. This is the 2/3 mark of the forearm. This is my radial styloid right here, so I mark next to it, just like I marked the CMC, and then go on to the ulnar styloid. All right, so those are your landmarks that we will use. All right, so now what we need to do is curve the line. This is the parameters of your splint, basically. Once you get to the right here, you keep going. So you're cutting through, technically, through the thumb, and curve that around that first CMC mark that you've done. Okay, leave it there for now. Go on the other side, and again, try to maintain this half an inch distance. Once you come to the forearm, you can make it about an inch distance. So your splint has to curve this way. Go about an inch from the radius. Yeah, this is your radius, sorry. All right, and then this 1 inch, connect that with this half an inch from the radial styloid. So you basically connect that. Try to curve the corners and connect this. Now the tricky part that always gets the student mixed up is I have my second web space mark here, and I have my first web space mark here, and then I have this. So I need to connect this with a dotted line all the way, and I need to draw a line over here, dotted line. So this is your first web space, do a line this way, and this is a dotted line, and mark this way. So this dotted line now, we don't have to worry about it, but it was a guide for us. So this is basically an outline for the splint that I will be doing if I was doing a splint for myself as a patient, and it matches here. Again, the book goes over, you know, L and K and A and B and C. I will make those available for you. If you want to read them, you can do that, but to make it easy, we can do that. Let me see if I can zoom in here. We can make that much easier by identifying less landmarks. Bring this with you to the class. Eventually, once you come to the class, we will do, let me see if I can a different color here. What we need to do is cut this. So you don't have to cut it, but you can, at least you need to know where you're going to cut. And if you're ever in doubt when doing a splinting material, make it larger, slightly larger, so you can, rather than smaller. So we will cut along this dotted line, the solid green line. And this will be the pattern for your splint. So bring this with you to the class. We will cut that. We will try this on the patient hand in this functional position. Once we try it, and I'm happy with the paper, the size of the paper, then I will transfer this into the splinting material. If I need to make adjustments, I will make the adjustments on the paper before I do it on the splinting material. I hope this makes sense, but no matter what, you need to bring this with you to the class. Next time I see you, again, it has to be your own hand, and your partner who will be splinting you will use your own pattern because it was made for your hand. That's what we do, and I recommend making it on your non-dominant hand. Again, you can do this. This is my left hand, but if I flip it over, it becomes my right hand pattern. So this is, we use that in the clinic sometimes. If I cannot trace a injured side, I can trace the good side and then flip my pattern over. All right, we'll see you in class on Friday.